Hi friends, and welcome back to my channel. Welcome to another weekly reading vlog. I hope everybody is having a fantastic December so far. I just decided not to do Vlogmas just because I don't have enough going on to really do daily vlogs or even every other day. So I am focusing on finishing We Free the Stars, which is the second book in the We Hunt the Flame series. It's the last book in the series. I'm only 100-ish pages in, and the first one was a 3-star, and it's essentially Lost Book to Bring Magic Back to the World book. I am also currently reading Ruthless Stranger, which is a Russian mafia story about a night in Vegas, a one-night stand, and then they end up meeting each other in real life. And I just finished gifting me to his best friend or something like that, part of her Touch of Taboo. A married couple go on Christmas holiday with his college best friend, and they have holidays together every year, and then they end up hooking up for the duration of their holiday, and it goes from there. So I just finished that. It was 4 stars. Like every other book in this series, they're all hot. I do like the others a little bit more just because they have some kinks and things that I like a little bit more than this one. There was some voyeurism and things like that, but there wasn't a whole lot other than that. And then the other thing that I need to get to this week is Savage Lover. I am reading the Brutal Birthright series with Letitia from Books and Bees. She has started it. I think she's done with it at this point, and I haven't even started it. So I really need to get it done. I was planning on reading it last week, but then I remember that the KU catch-up readathon was going on, and I wanted to read some books from that. I'm going to finish Ruthless Stranger, and then I'm going to pick up Savage Lover as an ebook, and then I'm going to read We Hunt the Flame, or We Free the Stars as a physical book. So that is the plan, and we will talk later. Okay, it's 2 minutes later. I'm 36% of the way through Ruthless Strangers, and I have decided to DNF it. Not because I'm not currently enjoying it, but because I know myself enough to know that an early hookup is never something that I enjoy. I never like the stories. I never like how the stories go after an early hookup. So I'm just going to save myself the time and the 2 stars and move on to Savage Lover, the ebook. I am 42% of the way through Savage Lover, and I just want to mention a couple of things before I forget them and then not mention them in my final update for when I give a rating. Something that I'm not enjoying about this book is that at the beginning of every chapter, if the previous chapter ended in an interaction between the hero and the heroine, you get the same scene from both of their points of view. So if the interaction starts in Nero's point of view, it'll end, and then the next chapter will start the heroine's point of view, and she will be recounting the same thing. And it's kind of annoying. I don't love it. It's just repeating the same shit over again. And then also there's just very minor conveniences that are making their storylines intersect. So for example, his family is the Italian mafia. His sister is the one that married Kellum from the first book, and he is looking to join the family. And he thinks that one way to help the family is to rob a bank. Now his family is very new mafia, legal dealings and things like that, and he feels there's better ways to get money. So he plans to rob a bank. He's going to do that by getting close to a girl named Bella, who was a bully of the heroines in high school. And now we're getting a scene where the heroine notices this very rare thing that her brother has, and then she just suddenly remembers that Bella and Bella's dad also have that rare thing. We know that the heroine's brother is a half brother, and we don't know who his father is, but it's just a very obvious convenience to get their paths to cross. It's not enough to ruin the book, but that's just something that I want to make note of before I forget. I am enjoying it. I grew up in the car scene. A lot of my young adult life was spent, at racetracks and car shows and stuff like that. So I'm enjoying the car aspect of this. The heroine works on cars, her family owns an auto parts place, and the hero works on cars as well, and they like go to racetracks and stuff like that. So I am enjoying that. Not a whole lot has happened between the hero and the heroine. Pretty much in the beginning of the book, the hero is like, yeah, she's not really my type. And then it's one of those, like, they slowly form a connection, I guess. And like, he's like, yeah, she's just kind of like a friend, someone that I want to spend time with. And that's kind of where we are. They've had a couple kissing scenes, but mostly it's like they're scenes separate from each other. And at some point, I'm sure the plot lines are going to overlap. I just haven't gotten there yet. So that's the update. I am enjoying it, and I'm gonna update you when I have finished it instead of the 50% mark, because I'm 42% of the way in, or if I have something that I will forget to mention in the final wrap up but want to make note of. This morning, like 5 minutes ago, I finished Savage Lover, and it was like 3 stars, but it was like a sliver away from 4-star. So this is basically about Nero and Camille. Nero, I think I mentioned in my last clip, is Italian mafia. Camille is just this woman who owns her family owns like an auto parts place in like the poorer section of this town. It's Chicago, I think. In the beginning of the book, they don't really have like any sort of relationship. They went to the same high school, but they were like never really interacting. People from Nero's like social circle bullied Camille. We see them interacting, but like Camille is like, yeah, he's attractive, but there's like, he's dangerous, and like we all know that his family's part of the mafia or whatever. And then Nero doesn't really think she's all that attractive. She dresses in baggy clothes and tries to hide her body, so he's never really paid much attention to her. Through happenstance, they keep seeing each other. She ends up at the racetrack that he goes to. She ends up at a party, and they become friends, and then they become something more. And the underlying plot is that Camille's brother was running drugs for one of the drug dealers in their town, and so she takes over her brother's position to sell drugs for this drug dealer so that her brother doesn't get in trouble. And one night they're on their way back from a party, her and her brother, and they get pulled over by a cop who blackmails her into being like a snitch for him, and in return he won't put her or her brother in prison because he found felonies worth of MDMA in their car. And at the same time, Nero is trying to rob this bank, and then there's like some side plots with family and with Camille's dad and brother. Her dad is sick, and her brother is her half sibling, and so she's like finding out who her half sibling, her brother's dad is. I liked this. I liked the atmosphere, I liked the car scene, and I liked the plot. I thought the plot was very interesting. It's basically the opposite of Stolen Heir, because in the Stolen Heir, nothing's happening, and like 30% of it is a huge emphasis on their relationship. Granted, that happens after all of the plot and everything wraps up, but this one just had so much going on that there was like no relationship work done at all. It did have like a Bonnie and Clyde-esque aspect. There's no like relationship growth. It starts out as them like friends, but not really, and then they immediately go into like a physical relationship, and then they are like in love, and I didn't really see the work put into the relationship, and they felt a lot younger than they were, and I think it had to do with the fact that they kept mentioning high school. So like in this, they're supposed to be 25, 26. 25, 26, you've been out of high school for a while, but they felt very immature, and they felt like they were fresh out of high school, maybe 18, maybe 19. That's just kind of like how their character felt. It wasn't the worst book in the series, in my opinion. So far, the worst book was definitely Stolen Heir. Now, I really need to get through We Free the Stars. So, my audiobook, I started Lady Sophia's Lover, and I'm not that far into it. I'm not going to start whatever comes after Savage Lover. I'm not going to start that until I get halfway through this, which is 300 pages. Well, it's a little more than 300 pages because I just wanted to get to a part. It's more like 290, but it's like right here, and so I want to read all of that before I move on to the next book in the Brutal Birthright series. All right, I've been talking for too long. I need to get ready and eat and go to work, so bye. Hi friends, last night I finished Lady Sophia's Lover. This is the second book in the Bow Street Runners series by Lisa Kleypas, and I have given this 3 stars. So this one is about Sophia and Ross, and in the beginning of the book, Sophia goes to Ross's office to obtain a secretary position for him with the intention of getting revenge by ruining his life because he did something to her brother. Their romance sparks pretty quickly, and I just didn't really like feel a whole lot with this one. I didn't really feel like Sophia's revenge plot was well thought out. She didn't really have like that sort of vengeance in her heart, I guess. It just felt pretty flimsy. I wish that her character had been written a little differently. I did like Ross. I thought he was cute. He's very like standoffish. He lost his wife like 2 years, I think it's like 4 or 5 years prior to childbirth. And so he is very standoffish, very cold, and he like is a workaholic. I don't know, I just didn't really feel anything like spectacular for it. I find that either Lisa Kleypas is like very dreamy and beautiful, or it's just like okay, and this one was just okay. I loved the first one in the series, hoping I'll like the third one. Is about rogue type character, or like a Robin Hood type character. He is known for bringing in criminals, but the Bow Street Runners think that he is also crooked because he brings in criminals, but he also like sets people up to be criminals so that he can turn them in and get the bounty for them. So I'm interested to read his book, and I might start that audiobook today. So yeah, that's that. I did get a little bit further into We Free the Stars. I am now 120 pages in, and honestly, I'm just like I don't know if it's like I don't feel like reading physically, or I don't want to read fantasy right now, but I'm just not really like feeling it. Every time I pick it up, my mind wanders. And this is what happened in the first one, because the first one was pretty slow. So like, because it had been a while since I'd read a fantasy, and on top of that, I found it to be pretty slow, my mind would just drift. So I think that's kind of what I'm experiencing now, even though I have been reading fantasy since then. I just think that it's a little bit boring, and so like my mind is like, okay, but I could be reading like the 30 other books that are on my TBR for the month. So that's kind of where I'm at. I really do want to read it. I really do want to finish it. So I'm just gonna have to buckle down and like really hold myself to not reading anything else physically or an ebook until I get through it. I don't have anything going on this weekend. It's only Wednesday, so it's not like my week is over yet, but I don't have anything going on this weekend. So I think I might sit down and like I always do 24-hour readathons, but like I don't really do anything else. So and I sleep. So it's like not much different than a regular weekend reading vlog would be, but so I might just sit down this weekend and just like try to bang it out. I need to get to work. I am excited for work. I don't know why I'm telling you this, but one of the ladies that I work with, her daughter started a YouTube channel. It's like a crafts channel. I'll leave it down below. I haven't watched any videos, but I'm always for obviously supporting small creators. So if you're interested in that, I'll leave it below. But her daughter started a YouTube channel, and she knew that I did YouTube. And so she was like, hey, what's your YouTube name? So I gave it to her, and like she started watching my videos in the office, which was like uncomfy. Thankfully, it's just 3 of us, and like the office wasn't busy or anything. And so she's like started writing down for my steamy novella recommendations, and she was like, okay, now show me how to get them. So like I set her up with KU, like I got her a free trial for Kindle Unlimited, And then she was like, well, I don't really have anything to read it on besides my phone. And so I found one of my old Kindles and like plugged it in and make sure that it worked and like reset it. And I think I'm gonna give it to her today and help her set it up. And I'm kind of excited about it. Hopefully she likes it. I'm gonna go to work now and I'll update you guys later. We might be talking and moving at the same time because the ferrets are out, but I am 50% of the way through Born Madly. I'm just gonna have to buckle down and like really hold myself to not reading anything else physically or an ebook until I get through it. And I gotta say, I'm kind of disappointed. So this is the second book in the Born Darkly duet, and the first one is the romance between a serial killer and his therapist. And think of it as like a Harley Quinn Joker fanfic. It's like the best way to describe it. And this one, they're not together that much, which is kind of annoying for me because the first one, the thing that was great about the first one was that it was a lot of cat and mouse game between the two of them. There's a lot of tension. They spend a lot of time together. And this one, they're together, but they're like finding out how to get out of this situation, which involves them being separate. And I don't love it. It feels more like a thriller with a light romance, which is not really what I was looking for the conclusion, but we'll see what happens. I also started the audiobook for Worth Any Price, and I'm really liking this. I can tell I'm gonna like it a whole lot more than I did the last one. This is about Charlotte and Nick is this Robin Hood type character that becomes part of the Bow Street Runners in the second one. And he is like this world-renowned rogue. They say he's like the best in bed. And we found out some things about him in the second one, about his past, that involved some phobias around being touched. And so he, in the beginning of this one, ends up taking up with a madam. And she kind of teaches him the ways of all of that. We skip forward 3 years, and he is now working for the Bow Street Runners, and he is tasked with going and collecting a runaway bride named Charlotte, and he has this like immediate attraction to her and this immediate draw to her, and we see a scene of him like jacking off to a painting of her. So I'm interested to see. I'm not that far in, but I can already tell I'm gonna like it a lot more than I did the second one. So that's the quick update. I am 50% of the way through We Free the Stars, and I just don't like it. I don't really think this is like that well plotted or needs to be this long. It is a little over 570 pages, and a lot of the beginning was nothing. And I had this issue with the first one as well. The first 100 pages of the first one is nothing. It's like just introducing you to the two main characters, which is fine for like an epic fantasy, but there's nothing really being built here. The world isn't really being explained all that well, and I'm halfway through the final book in the duet, and I just couldn't tell you anything about it. Like if you were to ask me how the magic system worked, or like what the villain was like, or where he got his power, or what he could do, I couldn't answer that because I don't know. And if you ask me like the origins of magic here, or how things can be done, I wouldn't have an answer for you because I don't know. And that's the issue that I'm having, is like, not only is your plot slow, but you're not building any of your world. I would be able to excuse it a little bit more if you had spent 300 pages actually telling me something, and it hasn't, and that's just not good. Like, I'm going to finish the book at this point. I'm kind of disappointed a little bit because I have been struggling through this and I want to finish it. It just is letting me down. At this point, I am 800 pages deep in this world, and I don't know anything. I don't know anything more about the magic system, the villain, than I did page 1 of the first book. I just know that he wants to take over these kingdoms. I don't want to feel like I'm wasting my time, but at this point, I really feel that way. I am like 70-ish% of the way through Worth Any Price. I only have about 2 hours left of the audiobook, I think. And I'm enjoying this a lot more than I did the second one and the first one, I think. So I like Nick. I think he's a good hero. And the heroine doesn't really have a whole lot going on. She had her immediate desires to get away from this betrothed person that she has been betrothed to since she was very young, who is extremely controlling and dictated what she ate and where she slept and how she slept and who she interacted with. And so she wanted to get away from him, and that's why she accepted this marriage of convenience with Nick, or proposed this marriage of convenience with Nick. But beyond that, I'm not really understanding what she wants for her life. Even if it's something as simple as just like being a wife with kids and running like an estate. I don't really know what she wants. And kind of the same with Nick. There's a lot of stuff that even at this point we know about as readers, but hasn't been revealed to his wife. And so he has a lot of things that are happening to him that are like external of him, things that didn't really happen because of things that he's done that are kind of being forced on him. And even though we know it's being forced on him, we don't know what the alternative thing he would want to happen, if that makes sense. So I am enjoying it. I just feel I'm missing some things. It'll probably be like a 4-star. I can expect the ending to be fantastic because I find her endings to be great. But yeah, I just like my reading is just, I'm just not connected with my reading right now. So that's the update. I'm gonna go back to reading We Free the Stars, and hopefully when I come back to update that I have finished the book, my feelings will be a little bit better. When you don't even care about your main character, it's time to DNF. Finished I Think I Might Want You by Christina C. Jones. This is the third book in the Love Sisters trilogy, and this, Gemma and Levi, and 5 years previous to the beginnings of this, or I think something like that, they had a one-night stand while they were both vacationing somewhere, and then they meet again in at like a friend's barbecue or something like that. They start up like an actual relationship. And I gave this 3 stars. It's only like 130 pages, and I felt like a majority of the story was spent between the two of them, like figuring out what they wanted to do with their lives as opposed to their actual relationship. I moved on to the sequel to Degradation, which I read last year and really liked, and I read Separation. And this is basically about the hero groveling for what happened in the end of the last one. He tricks her into spending like a month or so on his yacht in Cuba or something along those lines, and I gave this 2 stars. I really did not like this. I liked Jameson throughout the book. He definitely did what he needed to do to make it up to the heroine, but the heroine was incredibly childish. I'm not going to spoil the first one because I still think that everybody should read the first one. I really liked it, but the second one, the heroine was like, they would have a fight about something and then he would disprove or apologize for what she brings up in that fight, and then the very next fight she would bring up the same stuff. It just kept happening, and the heroine was incredibly annoying, and it just honestly ruined the whole thing. She was very immature. It wasn't like, I'm gonna fight with you because I like fighting with you. It was genuinely fighting, and it was just annoying. And then I also finished Worth Any Price, and I did end up giving this 4 stars like I expected to. I did end up liking this more as the story went on, as the secrets of each other's past were revealed, and I really liked the ending. Like I mentioned, Lisa Kleypas endings are just always fantastic, and I really like the way that this ended. The issue that I had with this series is that I was looking for a little bit more grit in it than what we really got. But I really liked Nick, and I think that they were a great complement for each other. I think that they both had enough like trauma and things in their background that even though they led very different lives, that they could, you know, support each other. And I think that it was just a great, they're just a great couple. I think Nick's love and adoration for the heroine was just fantastic. And I really liked Charlotte. I think that she was one of those those, you know, strong and silent types that Lisa Kleypas likes to write. As far as what I am reading now, I am currently listening to the audiobook for Wild Rain. This is the second book in the Women Who Dare series, and this is about Garrett and Spring, and Garrett is a journalist from a black newspaper, and he has gone to Paradise. If you're familiar with this series, you'll know that it's like this city, this county, but he's gone to Paradise to interview Colton Lee, who is a doctor in this county, and it's Spring's cousin, I think. He is immediately taken in by Spring. She is very independent and very strong-willed, and that's not really something that he's familiar with. She has some traumas with people in her past, and I would say a little more than halfway through, and I am liking this. Just like every other Beverly Jenkins, it's very comforting, and it is a nice listen. Their relationships are always very cute and comforting. And then I also started Twisted Games. I'm like 8% of the way through this. It's the second book in the Twisted series, and it's a bodyguard princess, and it is about Bridget, who is friends with the heroine in the first one, and Reese. And Reese is her bodyguard. She is the Princess of Andorra, and I think we're led to believe that she's not going to take the throne, but I'm sure that's going to change at some point. And so far, it's just been focused on their relationship. Like, he's a new guard to her. She had a previous guard who she was very close to. So now she has this new guard, and he's like an ex-Navy SEAL, and he's very cold and doesn't like crack a smile, but he takes her security very, very seriously. So I am liking it. I liked the first one in the beginning, and then it just went all kinds of places that I didn't really like. So yeah, we'll see how this one goes. I have heard it's just better altogether, so hopefully I'll like it a little bit more. But those are the updates that I have for you. It is Sunday, it's 11:30 on Sunday, and I'm gonna try to get through one of these books, probably Wild Rain, and then we'll come back and wrap up the vlog. I ended up finishing Wild Rain, and I did give it 3 stars. I liked this. Like I mentioned, I read Beverly Jenkins if I just want something comforting, something low angst in the relationship, and she tends to make her villains very like muscle twirling, so the angst of the plot is not really there. So it's just kind of one of those like comforting listens that I just can enjoy. And then I got 40% of the way through Twisted Games, and I'm having the same issues with this that I had of the first one. It feels like there's so much going on. Like, I've only read 40%, and I feel as if I should have read hundreds of pages at this point, because there's just so much, and she writes big time jumps. And I get that it's like supposed to eliminate some of the relationship growth, to say like, oh, well, they've been, you know, he's been her bodyguard for 2 years, so like you have that natural inclination to believe that in those 2 years they would have formed a connection, rather than us having to see it, which is a problem in and of itself. But it just feels like I've read so much and nothing, like I'm not even halfway through the book. So he is her bodyguard, and she finds out that her brother is planning to abdicate the throne to her because he fell in love with a commoner, and he can't marry someone that's not a noble. So now she has to go into training to be a queen, and she hasn't really been preparing like her brother did for his whole life to be king. She has really no understanding of what it's going to be like for her. And so they're spending her remaining days going through like a bucket list of sorts of all the things that she wants to do before she goes back to Andorra, which is the place that she's going to be queen, to start her studies. And this also means that Reese will no longer need to be her bodyguard, because she will have the royal guard that's there. He was only needed in the US because they couldn't afford to send royal guards to the US, and he's like a contracted bodyguard. She has asked him to come with her, and that's as far as I got when I stopped to update you guys or to wrap up the vlog. So again, it feels like the author had a lot of situations that she wanted her characters to go through without being concerned about how they would all come together and actually like fit in the story. So that's kind of the issue that I'm having with it. I'm going to continue. It could get better from here. We'll see, but it's a lot. And it's a little mentally taxing for like no reason, because I feel like I'm reading so much and then you look down, you're only 40% in, and it's like, okay, well, what more could there be really? So I hope you enjoyed this reading vlog. Make sure you comment down below your thoughts on any of the books that I read, what you read this week. I would love to know. Other than that, I will catch you guys in my next one.
Pull me in, draw me close. I wanna hear your heartbeat.